Wall Restaurant brings classic Szechuan and Peking Mandarin dishes right to the Twin Cities, featuring favorites like pan-fried dumplings and fish fillet in ginger sauce. Stop by the Great Wall location at 4515 France Avenue South and browse their full extensive menu at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the afternoon drive, and of course, nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. And on BAM, Blue Amp Media at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Thursday. Good to have you with us. Ahmed Baba is going to be joining us coming up a little bit later on. Of course, he's got the Ahmed Baba news over on Substack, very popular. He's out there, he's talking on all the networks. We're going to have him talking about basically how Trump is failing and failing badly right now. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Patrick, how are we today?
Doing pretty well. Grocery shopping today?
I did. I'm actually going to get to that at the beginning of the next hour. There's something that I noticed there that's actually a little discouraging. But if we can, there is just something there. We've had Kadba Ghazali on before. She's running Illinois 9. She's running for a House seat out there. And I knew her beforehand when she was just doing Cataboo and watching Fox News and all this stuff. And she was, fantastic then. She really has a good mind when it comes to politics and how you present yourself. She has an ad that is out that is absolutely spectacular. And I want to play this ad because this is crazy good. So go ahead. Let's play. This is one of her political ads. It doesn't sound like it, but it actually is. Listen to what she says here.
Kat Abu-Ghazaleh is the kind of radical Democrat Fox News warned you about. Kat believes you deserve universal health care, groceries, and housing. Where does she think we are? The richest country on earth? Kat isn't a millionaire. She doesn't take PAC money. She can't even afford health insurance herself. How can she possibly relate to normal, hardworking corporations like you and me? And it gets worse. As a journalist, Kat's reporting helped lead to Tucker Carlson's departure from Fox News. Is that who you want fighting extremists in Washington? Kat claims the Democratic Party should not bow down to Trump or his billionaire friends. Does she think strongly worded letters count as bowing? Kat Abu-Ghazaleh represents a new generation of progressive Democrats working to redefine the party's future. And she plans to do it with her ferocious attack cat by her side. Is this who you want representing us?
I'm Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, and I approve this message.
Patrick, you know what the best part about that is it's quite literally, it takes the feet underneath the Republicans out from them because that's the only attack ads they know how to do. Can you imagine if every Democrat did ads like that, how their message against the Democrats would be lost and they can't go on policy. There's no policy they can go on.
Mm-hmm. And I encourage you to go look it up on YouTube because there are some fun visuals on that ad as well.
You mean the laser cat? Oh, she's well, we'll have to see how it goes. I will say this. That's how you fight back right now. That is how you fight back. And this is what I'm bringing up now. I'm trust me, at the end of the show today, at the end of hour 2, I'm going to have a few points about this because we need more of that. We need a lot more of that right now. And it's unfortunate we do, especially considering the days and times that we're living in, because these are dark days. These are dark days. I'll give you a great example of how this is, of how crazy the times we are living in. So today we had this dog and pony show about the Clintons. Now, I want to make sure I say this. Bill Clinton clearly should be testifying and explaining what exactly he's doing in the Epstein files. Hillary Clinton just coming in there, I think the Republicans don't know how to not investigate Hillary Clinton. But Hillary Clinton did show up on Capitol Hill to talk to the House about what was supposed to be a closed door hearing about the Epstein files. She said she submitted a sworn statement to the committee on January 13th that she had no idea of Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal activities or the investigation into them. The committee justified its subpoena to me based on the assumption that I have information regarding the investigation into the criminal activities of Epstein and Maxwell. Let me be clear as I can. I do not, she said, I do not recall ever encountering Mr. Epstein. I never flew on his plane or visited his island, homes, or offices. I have nothing to add to that. She said she, like every decent person, has been horrified to learn of the crimes. She said the committee's investigation was supposed to be assessing the government's handling of the investigation, but pointed out that 8 law enforcement officials were subpoenaed and most were allowed to submit statements that they had no information to provide. The proceedings lack transparency and are partisan, she said. This institution's failure is designed to protect one political party and one public official rather than to seek truth and justice for the victims and survivors, as well as the public who also want to get to the bottom of this matter. My heart breaks for the survivors, and I'm furious on their behalf. That's what leadership is right there. Now, once again, this is Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton does show up in these things, and he should be held accountable. Absolutely. You hear that, Republicans? Because Bill Clinton, as much as he shows up there, doesn't show up there nearly as much as Donald Trump. Here's where this goes sideways. The closed-door deposition of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was paused after Lauren Boebert herself, who was in the committee, who knew it was a closed-door committee, took photos of her and sent them to a right-wing blog. Clinton, who arrived to meet the House Oversight Committee members in New York to answer questions, was about an hour into the questioning when congressional leaders, when Clinton's spokesperson said a photo was taken which violated the rules of the testimony. Clinton delivered her opening statement before the committee investigation ties between the Clintons and late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Clinton is slated to testify Friday before the committee. I had no idea about their criminal activities. I do not recall inquiring about them. But once again, there's a picture that was taken of Hillary Clinton in what is supposed to be a closed door hearing and then was sent to this. Clearly, I gotta imagine, I'm guessing as Comer is running this thing, I have to imagine Comer is like, oh, for God's sakes. You know, it's just, and funny, the Republicans, they seem to be, most of the right-wing trolls seem to be far more upset they did not wait until later in the day to release the photo, because they said, well, now this thing is going to get derailed. I think there's a legit question on whether or not is this about trying to find out what happened in the Epstein files, or is this about basically just trying to, get dirt on the Clintons, because frankly, that looked like it was about to get dirt on the Clintons. The fact that Boebert hasn't seemed to, at least I hadn't seen it before I came on the air. I did not see whether or not she tried to justify her actions. I don't think there is really anything you can say. So, the Dog and Pony Show, once again, the man who's mentioned in these files more than anyone else, the man who has direct allegations against him missing from the files. They are not there. They're supposed to be there. They're not there. That means the DOJ, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi have pulled these files out because they make him look really bad because it's raping kids. That those files, that no one on this committee wants to subpoena them or ask them to testify, anything like that. Dog and Pony Show. All right. I brought this up yesterday in my second hour, and this was talking about specifically a CNN story that talked about the impact of the ICE surge in Minnesota and how the Republican Party did this. They basically brought them in and the Minnesota Republican Party wanted ICE to attack the citizens of their own state. They wanted to shoot them. They wanted to kill them. They did. This was all a setup because they thought that somehow they were going to be able to control racism, and that you can go after those dark-skinned people in the city, but not the people that are out working on fire. Oh my gosh, they're going for everybody. And this is what they did. They did this with a smile on their face. The Republican Party intentionally did this. And the construction industry in Minnesota is absolutely in shambles right now. And once again, a lot of these construction companies vote for Republicans. So idiots, that's what I'm going to say. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. But that most of the construction sites in the state of Minnesota are basically stalled. They're stalled for months. Across the U.S., immigrants play an outsized role in the construction industry. According to a recent report from the National Association of Home Builders, immigrant workers account for more than 25% of the construction workforce, a historic high. It's unclear how many of those workers are undocumented. I'm going to guess a lot of them are. But anybody, even documented people right now, are terrified of coming on out. And by the way, can I say this one thing about this estimate about 25%? The industry wouldn't be this shuttered right now in Minnesota if it was only 25%. If 75% of the workforce is still showing up to work, then that's a minor hiccup. Don't get me wrong, it's not ideal, but you're maybe a month and a half behind. These guys are saying they're 4 and 5 months behind, which tells me this is a much larger issue for them. And it's something that we've talked about. We've talked about repeatedly the idea of that you can't just, we have too many industries, whether that's ag, construction, daycares, out there, gardening, scrubbing toilets. We have way too many industries that need immigrant labor, and in a lot of cases undocumented immigrant labor, because it's the only way we can get this stuff to market at a reasonable price. And so we have done this, and this is the case. So just to start getting rid of everybody is not a good idea. But the point I want to make is the entire argument that was used by Republicans to try to validate their racism on this issue was, there's a bunch of white guys that want these jobs, so they're stopping the white guys from having them. All right. Well, where are you? I got news for you right now. You can roll up on any construction site and say, I want to work. And I'm pretty sure they're going to give you a hammer and some nails, and off you go. You want to be a roofer? You want to be a painter? You want to be doing concrete, plaster, carpentry, flooring? You are working in the ag sector and a dairy, on grains, on a hog lot, turkey lot, meat processing. You want a job, they're there, ready for you. The jobs you insisted that you had, we had a massive force of people ready for these jobs. And now you guys don't want them. Because, and once again, I've said this before, a lot of you guys think that the jobs that these people are taking are these $90,000 high-tech construction jobs, and those are not it. You need a college degree, and you barely got out of high school, and you've been fired 8 times from the job, half of them for alcohol, and you think to yourself, you're going to go, they're going to hire me to go put together the iPhone. I get to do that. I just have to sit there. I watch a video for 30 minutes, and then I'm ready to go. I'm bringing my booze with me, too. This is not how it works. This is not how it works. But once again, Republicans, you said there are people to do these jobs. Where are they? Oh, that's right. It was just about racism. That's right. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trends Woman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that, so much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Thanks for being here on your Thursday. By the way, once again, you can follow me on the Substack. I'm kind of new there, but hey, cuddle me, hug me, welcome me in. Matt McNeil Show on Substack, and Blue Amp is where, or Blue Sky is where I've been hanging out a lot over there. I'm on Blue Amp as well, but I'm on Blue Sky over there. If you can find me there, Matt McNeil Show as well. Please follow me. I like that. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. And once again, Ahmed Baba is going to be joining us here in just a little bit to talk about, Trump and really kind of how he is failing, which is pretty clear after the State of the Union address here. So I want to get back to Epstein here because there's a story. The Telegraph has published a major story here, which it should be getting a lot more traction in this country, and it's just not, which is kind of scary. In an apparent attempt to thwart law enforcement investigations, Jeffrey Epstein had a tranche of his personal effects hidden in 6 storage lockers across the country, with the disturbing contents of one revealed Wednesday in a report by The Telegraph. The Telegraph first revealed last week that Epstein had hired private investigators to remove equipment from his Florida home ahead of the 2005 law enforcement raid on his home in Palm Beach, Florida, suggesting the disgraced financier had been tipped off about the impending search. I wonder if that was Pam Bondi. I'm asking. Since that report, the Telegraph has obtained an inventory of Epstein's storage locker in Palm Beach, which revealed some of its contents for the first time on Wednesday. The storage locker rented by Epstein contained computers, videotapes, sex slave manuals, and photographs of naked women. The Telegraph reported. Stashed items included 3 computers, 29 address books, and a 3-page list of masseuses in Florida. The hidden storage unit also contained nude photographs believed to be of Epstein's victims, as well as dozens of pornographic magazines, VHS tapes, and DVDs that eroticized teenagers. Inside the storage unit was also an 8mm video cassette tape on which was apparent footage of someone in the shower with a woman in lingerie. The raid on Epstein's home in Florida ultimately led to his first and only criminal conviction, a conviction on child prostitution that saw Epstein offered an insanely generous plea deal that granted broad immunity to him as well as any potential co-conspirators, and it spiked the FBI having identified at least 40 potential minor victims of Epstein. The plea deal was offered to Epstein by Alexander Acosta, the federal prosecutor in Florida, and later President Trump's labor secretary. According to the Daily Beast, Acosta has said he offered Epstein the plea deal because he was told by an unspecified person that Epstein belonged to intelligence and the matter was above his pay grade and he should leave it alone. Now, one of the things which the reason why this whole thing is starting to collapse in on Trump is that the arguments that they've had to defend Trump is those 600 people who've accused him of sexual depravity, or whatever the number is. Might be a little high, but probably not. Let's be honest. All these people that have accused him, they're all in on it. They're all in on it. But at the same time, his BFF, Jeffrey Epstein, no one says any of these victims, where there's photographs of them. There's actual documented evidence of victims that they are not real victims. And so the argument is the guy who was hanging around with the guy who clearly had hundreds and thousands of victims, he himself was always, I guess they think, reading the Bible and never, all the people that have accused him at the same time of sexual assault and sexual impropriety and rape, that they're all lying. That doesn't make any sense. Exactly. But it's the description of this, which, once again, the worst part of this is a lot of children were raped by Jeffrey Epstein and his client list, which likely included Trump. And there was a lot of sex trafficking. Likely Trump was involved with that as well. Okay? That's very clear. There's enough evidence. If any human being outside of these people had this level, had 1/10 of this evidence against them, they'd already be locked up for life and they'd never see the light of day. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. But I want to go through what they had here and point out that this seems much larger. There seems to be a larger game going on in the background here. 3 computers, 29 address books, 29. I am a grown adult with a lot of business contacts, a lot of friends, worldwide friends I've had over years. I still have 1 address book, and I've had it for basically since I got out of the military in 1992. He has 29 address books, a 3-page list of masseuses in Florida ready to go. We're talking, this is, and as once again, Acosta says here, I was told he was part of an intelligence gathering group. For who? Because one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is Epstein's ties to Putin. And when you just start putting that little peg in the board and start to this, a lot of things start making a lot more sense. That Epstein was able to create and once again, through his own depravity. I mean, he clearly was raping kids and trafficking, underage girls for sex. That clearly was something he liked to do, and he was doing it fairly frequently. That was part of this. But clearly, the lifestyle he was leading was fueled by something greater. I mean, island mansions, multiple locations. He has this place out in New Mexico. He has all these things. Clearly, we're looking at an intelligence gathering operation. Maybe it was blackmail. Could be straightforward blackmail. He was, kind of like the Godfather or the second Godfather, where, basically, the politician. If you haven't seen it, sorry, it's only like 60 years old at this point. But, the politician wakes up with the dead hooker, and basically they're blackmailing him to basically stake the side of the Corleone family. Sorry, I ruined it for you if that's the case. The same thing. I mean, this could be a case where he was just blackmailing it, but I'm getting the idea, and especially when you talk about one of the first things that came out was a compromising tape of Trump in Russia. A guy that was there. And also, it's very clear that Trump and Epstein were insanely close people. It's impossible that Trump didn't know about what was going on here. It just is beyond the realm of possibility at this point. When you look at this story and you see the volume of evidence that has come on out. I mean, it's clear that this was not only the horrific nature of a network of child rapists and child sex trafficking going on, but there clearly is something in the background where this was being used to collect intelligence and compromising information on people. And that sounds like Putin all freaking day long. Ahmed Baba, when we come on back, it is the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Why must the world be so cold? They've gone against what was told. Thinking rape is cool? Think about it. They think it's not wrong. Violence against women, the rape, the abuse, the emotional, physical, they all hold the hate. Think about it. Is it right or wrong? What attracts you? I'm not saying no names, but you laugh. Talk about it like nothing is wrong. Think about it. They all hold the hate. Gotta stop the violence. Stop the hate. Think about it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Are you tired of hearing how white European men discovered everything? Then 10,000 Things Theater's production of Men on Boats by Jacqueline Backhouse is for you. It features a cast of the first expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1869 left out, running February 19th through March 15th at 4 different locations, starting with Open Book in Minneapolis. Contact 10,000things.org. That's 10,000things.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 9520-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly sunny skies today with a high near 43. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 29. And Friday, partly cloudy with a high around 46. The Great Wall Restaurant brings classic Szechuan and Peking Mandarin dishes right to the Twin Cities, featuring favorites like pan-fried dumplings and fish fillet in ginger sauce. Stop by the Great Wall location at 4515 France Avenue South and browse their full extensive menu at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Broadcasting in the afternoon drive in the evenings in Seattle, 11:50 a.m. KKNW in Chicago, WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk on BAM, Blue Amp Media at blueamp.co on Substack, and of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Thursday. It's an absolute privilege and pleasure to welcome to the show Ahmed Baba, a political analyst and civic technologist whose pro-democracy content reaches millions. He founded Ahmed Baba News, of course, a best-selling Substack publication. You can see him on MSNBC, CNN. He's a columnist for The Independent, and he's nice enough to grace my show. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time today.
No, of course, man. I'm happy to be here, especially in broadcasting in Minnesota, of all places, which is the center of a lot of the progress we're seeing and the backlash against Donald. So happy to be here, man.
And definitely we're going to get to that, because that's one of the things you pointed out is the overreach here, and kind of they ran into the state of Minnesota and they didn't expect that. But I actually want to go back to it. Let's start with the State of the Union, you've been writing things that basically have shown that, Trump is, he's weaker than he appears. And as you wrote that, you said that to me last week. And then I watched the State of the Union and I'm like, oh my gosh, he looks so weak. He looks like a washed up, musician trying to play, who doesn't want, he's thinking he can just go back out and play all of his songs at some secondary, tertiary casino. And he's just kind of hoping that he gets applause. He does look somewhat washed up, which was on display for that insanely long State of the Union speech.
Yeah. I mean, not only physically as he's like leaning over the podium, and like literally looking like he's exhausted with his own words, but in the substance, right? Like you saw most of it, he was doing all of these like circus activities and trying to, medal here, you get a medal here, you get a medal here. And then most of the time, presidents, especially the beginning, spend that time talking about their accomplishments. But the thing is, every piece of policy, every signature piece of policy that he has pushed forward, every executive action has backfired spectacularly. This is the president who refuses to address affordability, not only refuses to address it, is insistent on raising prices because he won't give up on the tariffs. The president whose executive overreach, authoritarian overreach, backfired because of the cruelty in Minnesota, backfired because of the ICE raids. And then you have across the board, every issue he used to be strong on, from immigration, crime, the economy, he's now underwater. His polling is seeing new second-term lows, close to his first-term lows post-January 6th. We are seeing a weakening, crippled president that is beleaguered by his own incompetence and failures, man.
There's a part of him when you watch him out there, and he did not put forward any policy initiatives for this year. He did not put out any rallying cries for the Republican Party for the election. He just basically came out and did what he always tries to do and tries to lie his way through a crisis because he knows his strongest base will always believe it. But it comes across as, frankly, a bit of an abusive spouse who's saying, I'm, promises things are much better than they are. You deserve what I'm doing to you. You'd better love me. He does really have that kind of mentality towards this country, is that if we don't love him the way he insists we do, that he will make us love him that aggressive way. And that seems to be permeating his entire freaking administration at this point.
No, it's spot on. And it's an abusive spouse without the promise of changing for the better. Yeah. Without the, hey, I'm going to do better, I promise. It's no, actually, I'm going to do the same and you're going to like it no matter what, is basically what Trump has messaged to the American people. He's saying affordability is a hoax. And you're right. He's up there trying to convince us that things are going well. And this is the reason why Trump only ever wins when he's out of power. He never wins as an incumbent, right? Every incumbency he's had, he lost, which is 2020, right? Because when people have to actually live with his governing, they're reminded that he's not a serious person about any of this. They reminded that he can't govern at all. They're reminded that he's deeply incompetent. He surrounds himself with loyalists. And unlike the first term, when he was insulated by people who were effectively acting as guardrails, there was Gary Cohn and Steve Mnuchin, I guess, who were single-handedly holding back the tariffs, I guess. We've got, Mark Milley, John Kelly, Esper telling him he can't shoot protesters, right, in the legs. And then now he surrounded himself with a bunch of loyalists where loyalty is the prime qualification. So therefore you get all these incompetent people tripping over themselves, and they can't, and they've tried to implement Project 2025 in meaningful ways, but then Musk comes out the gate with the chainsaw, stumbling over himself, and then it all just backfires. So I've been saying since February, I was really scared and concerned because I've been warning about Project 2025 since 2023, writing about it and analyzing it. And then once I saw the cabinet picks, I was like, oh, he's actually fumbling. And then literally within weeks, my first article at the end of his first week in office was his overreach is backfiring. Week 1.
Yeah.
And look at it a year later. It's backfired. They're cooked in the midterms. All the stuff about stealing the midterms is trying to scare us. There's no mechanism for it. I'm sorry. He's going to try. And I know that there's stuff to be concerned about. But again, because he's incompetent and says everything he thinks, he's told us all what he plans to do. And we're going to create plans to counter it. So I am really just in a state where I'm just seeing a weak president. I think everyone needs to reframe. Although things are scary and he's doing really horrible things, it's a desperate act is what he's putting on.
In his first term, you talk about the cabinet people, and I think it's pretty clear at this point. He basically, I think he got scared at the end of that term when there were people within his administration talking about removing him from office. And so this time around, he has put people in there that would never even think of it because, frankly, they couldn't get a job anywhere else if not for Trump. So he's built these loyalists, and I'm not want to give too much credit to that first administration. There was a lot of horrible people there, but there was a level of competence that was there. Him purging the competence for the second term, it definitely has exposed that, as you said, I mean, he is a weak man that, if he doesn't have people around him that are competent, he even looks weaker and weaker every day.
No, exactly. Who knew, like, he thinks that there's this deep state that was, kind of harming his whims, when in reality, they were protecting his presidency, like they were protecting him from tripping over his own feet. And when you have people around him just glazing him all the time, telling him he's the greatest human being on earth, he has no way to inhibit himself, no way to check his worst impulses. So every dumb thought that comes to his head goes from thought to executive action through Stephen Miller's pen. It goes from thought to execution, because this was the thing that they, Project 2025 was all about. It was about identifying the vulnerabilities that Trump, ran up against in the first term, the guardrails, removing the guardrails so you can get unadulterated Trump. Well, what they didn't factor in was Trump. Like, you have Trump's going to step on you guys and make you, and that's what's happened here. And when I was reading Project 2025 initially, and I was horrified, right? Because I expected Russell Vought to come in and just silently implement. But instead, Trump's like, you know what? I'm going to torpedo the economy out the gate. I'm going to hit the tariffs. And then we're going to put Elon Musk up front, the richest person on earth, to rub it in your face as we slash jobs, as we raise the unemployment rate, as we raise your prices, and it backfired immediately. And that's why he's lost the country.
He comes into Minnesota in this whole authoritarian takedown. And once again, I think one of the things I am grateful for is he's a complete and total moron. Because if anyone actually had a brain power, they might be actually able to do some real serious stuff. But because he and everyone else around him are, basically, staring at the jangling keys, they basically are unable to pull off what would be a high stakes overthrow. That being said, they come into Minnesota and they got thwarted by these things. I mean, they thought they were going to, Bavino was going to come on in here and crack skulls. And don't get me wrong, they did some damage. I mean, obviously the murder of Renee Good, the murder of Alex Preddy, the violations of human rights, but the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the state of Minnesota stood up to him, and he was not prepared for that. This is, I think, we talk about that in regard to Project 2025 and how it's run up against this wall, that it's easy to put this forward on Fox News and Newsmax or within your conference rooms where you're having little meetings, but then to do it in the real world, it comes crashing down because the rest of the country is not on board with it.
No, exactly. And when you have someone like Stephen Miller who's running that specific side of it, who can't read a room at all, that's when you get into the situation, what happened in Minnesota. And you have Bavino walking around like, trying to be a short king, walking to Target as people waiting outside the bathroom for him. Actually, it's just the hubris. Like, we're lucky they're so arrogant and stupid. Like, Stephen Miller's the dumbest smart person I've ever seen in my life, where it's like simultaneously you can't recognize or anticipate the backlash. It's an underestimation of the American people. I really believe that they all drank the Kool-Aid and thought that they won the culture war in 2024, and that Americans bought into every piece of Trumpism, which is bought into the cruelty, that they wanted these deportations. They wanted just all brown people gone. So then when they push with that ferocity, and you go to a place like Minnesota, which they really underestimated, and then you have, especially, I have white liberals too, and former Trump supporters and conservatives and churches doing mutual aid pipelines and people doing whistle networks, and the brilliant coordination that he ran up against. They couldn't handle it. And then you had people like Renee Good and Alex Preddy who died defending their neighbors, which is what that was. And then you have the moral backlash to it, which literally brought back woke. We're in the woke 2 era now because of that. Like, you got Bad Bunny, you have celebrity, everything is against him now. And I really think they underestimate the American people at every step, and their arrogance continues to be one of their biggest shortcomings. And it's why, I don't want to minimize the threat of Trump, because the more weak he gets, the more desperate he'll be. But I do think Democrats and the opposition need to move with a little bit more swagger and recognize Tombo is losing they're losing the information war now too, which is wild to say given their disinformation. So I just try to like look at the bigger picture. And after I covered every single day of Trump's first term in like a database where you can click into every day. So like I kind of got a bigger picture view from that first term. You can see where things are moving and where things are headed. I think he's going to be at Bush numbers by the end of his term. And then we're gonna see how Vance and Rubio do in 2028.
See exactly if the economy goes there. One of the things that I find to be interesting, though, is that you talk about he's losing in this information war. I was reminded today in 2019 we got reports of thousands of immigrant children had been abused within the system that Trump had set up back then, where Pence goes out there and does the tour with the foil blankets, and we found out thousands of kids were abused then. And, once again, the national news media had never thought that was an important issue to bring up during 2024. There is this almost betrothed nature that they can't quit him. And as these things are going on out, I mean, I saw it here firsthand. I mean, we'd see things which were crimes against the people of Minnesota, and the media was trying so hard to find some way to, crossfire both sides crap, and it just wasn't working. Do you feel as if with the media as betrothed to the Republican policies by these billionaires that own it now, do you think that there's enough courage there for them to break from this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on which network you look at. I think MS Now's doing really great work, and they're still, trying to really be the bulwark, pro-democracy, mainstream media bulwark. And then you've got, CNN half the time, depending on what show, doing good work. And then, obviously Fox News is lost. And News Nation is pivoting more to the right. And I've been on pretty much all these networks, except Fox have not and will not probably, or Newsmax. But like when you go in there and you see a lot of these people have good intentions, but it's like there's this normalization that happens, especially when a lot of your colleagues are Republicans, where you can maybe get a view that this is not as bad as it is, or there might if you know good people who are Republicans, maybe you can convince yourself that it's not there. But there's also the access side. Like I think there's people who consume too much of Trump spin. Like when I listen to how some of the mainstream reporting on how the inner workings of the Trump White House works, you can hear them consuming a little bit to a degree their narrative. And it's like they frame this as if it's a normal White House and not in a wannabe authoritarian regime. And you can hear the normalization in their voice, which is in their training, because they're trying to, Trump realized he knew how to game the feigned objectivity of mainstream media, where it's like you have to try to be as objective as possible. And he knew how to game that. And then that ends up creating a system where there's a lot of, outlets that aid him. But again, the reason why the information war, why I think it's progressives and pro-democracy folks are winning, independent media, man. Independent media, y'all, Midas, all these individual creators, that's why if you're watching, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to Blue Amp, hit the subscribe button to me, Ahmed Baba News. If you're watching, subscribe, support paid subs to people if you can, because this is why they're losing. There's so many sources, so many places people are fighting back.
Yeah, there is a scatter, which I agree with this. And Substack has been a godsend. I mean, really, their mentality and how they changed a lot. Let's make sure we talk about you specifically. How can people find you and get subscribed to your page right now?
Yeah, so you can subscribe at Ahmed Baba News. So you could either just Google me, Ahmed Baba News. You'll see my Substack. Subscribe. I do a bunch of lives, weekly articles, analysis. And if you can, become a paid subscriber, because we're out here doing the work, and we're out here trying to really boost pro-democracy work and push back on this regime.
Can you stick around for one more segment?
Oh, yeah, I'm around, man.
By all means. We'll take a break. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Denver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hey everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trans Woman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that. So much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
Hi, I'm Mary T. Caring for others runs deep in my family. My grandmother, Rosa, was a nurse who cared for people in their homes more than a century ago. Inspired by her compassion, my mother, Margaret, and I founded the Mary T. family of companies nearly 50 years ago. Today, we continue that legacy across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maryland, and Arizona, providing senior living, assisted living with memory care, home health, hospice care, rental housing, and support for people with disabilities. Each service is personal, creative, and focuses on the unique needs of those we serve. We also believe in joy and community, which is why we opened Crooner Supper Club in Fridley, a place to celebrate life with music, laughter, and connection. At Mary T., we're proud to be a Minnesota family company rooted in compassion, inclusion, and respect, and proud supporters of AM 950 and the values that this station represents. Visit MaryTinc.com to learn more.
Congratulations to Mary T., named one of the most admired CEOs of 2026 by the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Ahmed Baba joining us. Ahmed Baba News on if you go over to Substack, Ahmed Baba News, find it there. And of course, subscribe. And if I just may for a quick second, not only subscribe to him and subscribe to Blue Amp, and that's important, but we're an old school radio station here. You hear those ads there? Support these people. They are producing product for you. And that's it. That's what it comes down to. Support the people that are here to help you hear about these things, because whether that's us here, Substack, whether that's Minnesota Reformer, Sahan Journal, whatever these news outlets are, you need to support them because they're basically our last line of defense before we kind of get to the state of Russia. Ahmed Baba, once again, joining us. You mentioned this election season that's coming up here. And I agree with you. I mean, if you look at all these special elections we've had since the election, there is an element of Grover Cleveland here, which once again, the only other guy that served 2 separate terms separated, where the second he got elected his second term, people kind of the shine came off the apple per se. Now, not as much as Trump, but he basically couldn't get any consensus because people were more voting for him, not for him, but against something else. And kind of the same thing happened. And all of a sudden now we realize we're stuck here. How bad are you thinking this is going to be this November? And, what are you hearing in regards to the Republicans and how, because they seem to be fracturing left and right at this point.
And that's the thing, where in order to pull off something like what Trump would need to pull off in order to meaningfully, steal a midterm election, if you look at the January 6th plot, it really charted out a lot of the vulnerabilities, right? And a lot of people said no at different levels. State electors, you had different people in different state roles, election roles that modified that. And also when it comes to the House, it's already fracturing. Thomas Massey's pretty much caucusing with the Dems at this point, might as well, right? Like you have people who, the more popular he gets, the less people will be willing to go along with this. And then you have SCOTUS willing to rule against the tariff ruling. There's all of these other institutional indicators that show he's losing institutions as he's getting more unpopular. And I think one of the other pieces to fall will be the business community. Right now he's still got them, but like maybe they'll have a reawakening after they pretended to be liberal for so long. But
and if I can add into that, I mean, we talked a little bit earlier and yesterday about the construction industry, which generally the owners of these construction companies support Republicans. They're being wiped out in Minnesota. In the ag sector, they're getting wiped out because their workers are gone. It is already starting to happen in these pressure point areas like Minnesota.
Yeah, and then on top of that weakening of the coalition, like you said, you have Nick Fuentes, who's openly calling MAGA over and saying he's anti-Trump, and Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving the party, and Tucker Carlson being a in and out ally, and you have all these different it's a pretty loose coalition. You have Maha over here. It's not this like monolithic MAGA base, right? And then you look at the polling where he's losing non-college voters by a significant amount. He's now -9. I saw, and Harry Enton was outlining that, a 23-point swing the other direction from the beginning of his term. And it's like, okay, now he's losing the base. He's already losing independents in the 20s in approval with independents. You've got the 36% approval overall. I mean, he's never had Dems. Black voter, all the little bit of gains. People don't talk enough about the gains he made with Black people, the small percentages, and obviously Latinos. There's a lot of attention on that. But with Black people, reverse those gains entirely, polling wise, while he single-handedly almost raised the Black unemployment rate with his Project 2025 attacks on DEI and federal worker purges, because a lot of the federal people maybe not realize that a lot of the federal government is Black people. So when he did those purges, it really harmed the Black community. So overall, it's just, you take all that together as you head into the midterms. I mean, like, as we all believe, if we have a free and fair election, he's going to lose. But he doesn't have that many mechanisms to steal it, given how this is not Germany. This is not a federalized system. It's not Russia. It's state-run elections, literally Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution, So it's like he doesn't have that many mechanisms. He can beat his chest. He can do, the SAVE Act isn't going to pass the Senate. They can try. At the moment, I think it's mostly bluster. I think everyone should be on guard. You have Mark Elias already, the second it happens, I'm sure he'll file 1,000 lawsuits, So I really think he's really trying to scare us. And I don't think we should buy into it. I think we should be firm and smart. Someone in the comments said I was being naive. I will respond to that and say, no, I'm being confident. What I will say is I'm not going to let him tell me that I should feel fearful that he's going to just reign over us. Because what I think you should be prepared, but also be confident and stand in your strength when he's being weak, and not act like he's the all-powerful dictator. He's clearly not. That's my take.
Well, and I when you look at that Supreme Court, I mean, that tariff ruling that came on down, the 6-3, that was tariffs. I mean, if they're going to give him a mulligan, they'd give him on that because they probably could get away with it. But you're going to have to rule directly against the Constitution to help him. And sure, Alito and Thomas, those RVs pay for a lot of great votes, but you don't, or those trips to Europe that Alito took. But I don't even think Kavanaugh would go along with that. And I think that at that point it would be done. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Then the question then comes this: if the Democrats win as many seats as they probably will, I'm thinking this is going to be, might be a really bad year for Republicans. How will Trump even stay in office, or will he try to resign before the new Senate takes over, Congress takes over?
I think he'll stay. I think he'll never walk away. But I do think, there's going to be, he might try to say, oh, Mike Johnson, don't seat these people. But, things like that. I know that's what people are really worried about, is like some of the, but if you dive into every single little bit of it, each piece, there's a buffer that would, we're just going to, you do really think that the majority of the Republican Party is going to go about it when he's polling it by then, maybe 30%? Like, people are going to start thinking self-preservation kicks in at some point for a lot of these people. And if they want to move past this, which they clearly, some of them do, like, there's all these indicators. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene was very important, frankly, to what she did, because I think she also provided a permission structure. Massey's providing a permission structure to speak out against them and still be a Republican. So I think he wouldn't resign. I think he would just, I guess, try to do whatever he can to push back all the probes against him. And
yeah. Well, and when you're looking at the swings we are seeing in these special elections, and there is a pattern there, there's not a lot of safe Republicans at this point. So it'll be interesting to see when that fraction does happen, when they basically start turning on him during this election cycle. Once again, Ahmed Baba, go find him on Substack. follow him, become a subscriber. Great information, great content. A privilege. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And keep doing what you do. Your work is incredible. Everyone go support your local radio, especially Minnesota. And Minnesota, y'all doing great work.
We'll be back. Hour 2 up next.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
AM 950 would like to thank everyone who joined and donated during our winter membership drive. Your support shows that Minnesotans still value an independent progressive radio station that delivers facts, not spin. AM 950 is locally owned, based right here in the Twin Cities, and dedicated to uplifting small businesses and diverse communities. At a time when some voices are being pushed aside, AM 950 refuses to be silenced. Please help keep progressive radio on the air. Visit am950radio.com and donate today.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The House Oversight Committee turned the focus of its inquiry into the Jeffrey Epstein files to the Clintons today. Ed Donahue has details.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told members of Congress she had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and didn't recall ever meeting him. The testimony outside New York comes at the start of 2 days of depositions that will include former President Bill Clinton. With the former president now involved, ranking Democrat Robert Garcia said this:
I hope that Chairman Comer and the Republicans will join us in demanding that the person who actually appears more times in the files than the former president, who we want to speak with, is President Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton accused committee chair James Comer of running a one-sided investigation that has failed to hold the president and other Republican officials to account. Comer pledged lengthy days of questioning. I'm Ed Donahue.
The Gates Foundation says Bill Gates answered questions about his connection to Epstein at a town hall meeting of his nonprofit. The spokesperson says the Microsoft co-founder took responsibility for his actions and spoke candidly. Gates appears multiple times in the Justice Department files. He says he met with Epstein about philanthropy and regrets the meetings. FedEx says it will return any refunds it gets back from President Trump's tariffs to customers. The tariffs were declared illegal by the U.S. Supreme Court. On Wall Street, most stocks in the S&P 500 rose, but NVIDIA dragged the index lower. Despite delivering another stellar profit report and a forecast that topped expectations, NVIDIA's stock sank 5.5%. For its worst loss since April. The S&P lost 0.5%, while the Nasdaq sank 1.2%. The Dow edged up 17 points. Jobless claims rose last week, and mortgage rates have eased below 6% for the first time since 2022. Freddie Mac puts the average on a 30-year at 5.98%. This is AP News.
Drivers who switch their home and auto with Progressive could save money and time. Other things try to do this, but they really don't. Like the touchscreen at fast food places. It's not like you save time because it takes you longer to use a touchscreen than, I don't know, someone who works there. And another thing, you'd think it would save money because they're not paying a cashier, right? But no, same price. Also, why is there an option to tip? Who am I tipping? Exactly. Anyway, even if you can't save money and time with some things, you could with a Progressive home and auto bundle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers, not available in all states or situations.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at Wounded Warrior.
Hi, this is Frank Brown with Minuteman Press Uptown. It's election season. If you're campaigning for a candidate, your outreach needs top quality union printed materials, from direct mail and yard signs to door hangers, buttons, t-shirts, and flyers. Minuteman Uptown is your union shop to get people to the polls. We print everything. We'll keep your candidate top of mind, target your message with a laser focus, and maximize your voter turnout efforts. Get started today at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly sunny skies today with a high near 43, tonight partly cloudy with a low around 29, and Friday partly cloudy with a high around 46. The Great Wall Restaurant brings classic Szechuan and Peking Mandarin dishes right to the Twin Cities, featuring favorites like pan-fried dumplings and fish fillet in ginger sauce. Stop by the Great Wall location at 4515 France Avenue South and browse their full extensive menu at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and Blue Amp Media, blueamp.co on Substack. Good to have you with us here on both of those today. Matt here, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. And once again, thank you very much to Ahmed Baba. What a great interview. Got to have him back sometime soon. Patrick, you had asked about grocery day today. Nothing too bad. I mean, here's one thing. We're kind of in a bit of a dead zone for fruit and vegetables, I've noticed. Like everything either looks really unripened or way over unripened because we're about to start getting stuff in. So, I'm trying to go through all these winter, what I consider to be the winter vegetables. I did rutabaga last night. I got some turnips. I'll do something with them. I mean, how do you like to have turnips, or do you never have a turnip?
Turnips are not on my menu.
They are not on your. It's not. You can't They don't have them in the drive-thrus. There's not like bucket-o turnips. Maybe they should be. Maybe they'd be tasty. Sounds like an Irish drive-thru. Oh, what? You can get yourself a bucket of turnips. All right. Oh, thank you, Seamus. I appreciate it. I got news for you. Coming up St. Patrick's Day, you're going to love this. We got Dermot Flanagan's going to join us again for St. Patrick's Day to talk about things in Ireland because we've done this with him forever. Ever since I've been doing radio, we've been talking to Dermot. So that's coming up on St. Patrick's Day. So I get a little bit of a leeway from the Irish because I love them so much. They are brilliant people. So I go to the grocery store. I do want to say there is something that happened today that is starting to scare me a little bit. The last few weeks I've gone in, there have been 3 times where I've been there at checkout. And there has been somebody in line who clearly does not have enough money for the groceries they're trying to get. And 2 of those times I've stepped up and said, how much do you need? And one time it was like $1.50. The other time it was like $7. And I said, sure, here you go. You just cover it with this. And do that because, clearly there's something, they're not having a great day. Even if it's just a bookkeeping error, it's not a good day. I'll help you out. It's worth your time. But I've talked before about back in 2008 and the housing crisis and the big housing bubble that happened and how everything went sideways real fast. And that was always a real concern for me. It was emotionally kind of incredibly distressing to go in there and to hear 4 or 5 different transactions where, do you have another credit card? Do you have any cash on you? Okay, what do you want to take off your grocery card here? And people putting stuff back because they could not afford things. Starting to get to that point again. So I mean, when Trump's out there insisting that the economy is going great, I'm serious. You go into a grocery store in a working class neighborhood, and you tell me it's going great, because it's not. I mean, do you know how much you spend on groceries in any given week?
A couple hundred.
Did it used to be? It wasn't that long ago. It was like 150, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not like it was.
Yeah. Oh, and to give you an idea, and I am an old man now. When we moved back into Minnesota 25 years ago, and it was 25 years ago, and we had our first kid, and he's, we got away from baby food and stuff like this, and he started actually eating food. I remember the first time I had a grocery bill that was like $150 for the week, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is so expensive. Now it's just my wife and I, and yeah, we eat pretty healthy, and we make a lot of our own food and stuff. I think it was $240 today. 240. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. All right. I'm going to try to keep my composure today. I have a few stories here that are kind of, they're getting me under the skin a little bit. How about I say it like that? Legislation that would have imposed stricter gun restrictions in the state of Minnesota in the wake of the Annunciation church shooting failed to make it out even a House committee, with families impacted by the horror resolved to keep fighting. 2 bills that would have banned high-capacity magazines and assault-style weapons failed to advance out of the House Committee on Public Safety and Judiciary on a 10-10 party line vote on Tuesday, with the DFL members voting in favor and all the Republicans voting for the vehicles of mass death. Once again, these guys, and we have had, the ICE aside, we had the Annunciation shooting, and then we had the assassination of Speaker Hortman in the state. And all these Republicans came, oh, this is horrible. And now they have a chance to do something about it. And they basically, once again, chose the guns over your children. The guns to them are more important to their own children. It's the guns. It's the guns. Everywhere else on the planet has the same issues that we have here. They have mental health issues. They have video games. They have heavy metal music. They have knives and bows and arrows and metal pipes and hammers. And we are the only country on the planet, developed country on the planet, that's not in a war zone, that has these regular slaughters of our own citizens at the hands of people who are able to get military-grade weaponry easily, quickly, and effectively, and people think that this is a good idea. And there are countries where, Switzerland, Canada, you have active gun communities in those countries. Very active. And they don't have it because they're not stupid enough to believe that giving a mentally compromised person, a 20-time freaking loser, a weapon that can fire off 150 rounds in 10 seconds is a good idea. They have some thought process to this and say, well, that's not a good idea. And in this country, we still, once again, when children were praying in church, they were being shot at by a deranged individual with an assault weapon. The thing that they say that the only thing we can do is thoughts and prayers. Well, they were praying, and it did not stop this. You know who could stop this? The politicians could. And I want to make sure everybody who's listening to me understands exactly their mentality. They will kill every single one of us for those guns. None of us matter. They would watch us all get slaughtered and be piled high. And they would think, well, at least we didn't stop the guns. These people, these Republicans are so broken. I'm going to guess 75% of them could have one of their own family members gunned down, a victim of senseless gun violence. 75% of them would still stand by the guns over their own loved one. I have talked, I don't know if the Blue Ant Media folks have heard me talk about this. I was born in a family of hunters. I don't have a problem with hunting weapons. I grew up around them. I don't. Most of the people who are active hunters, who are not trying to take an assault weapon out to get ducks because they're freaking idiots and they just want to get drunk. And because they're getting drunk, they can't fire a weapon. So they go get something that can unleash 100 rounds in 10 seconds and act like, get good hunting. Exactly. So I don't really have a problem with hunting weapons. I would not have one, but a personal defense pistol. Someone wants to have one of those, but with a limited amount of weapon rounds you can fire. And I think that there should be mandatory gun training. I think that these people should have to carry insurance on these guns. We have to carry insurance on cars. I think you should have to carry insurance on a gun. And that we've had cases in Minnesota where people have shot people because they thought they had a gun and they didn't have a gun. Well, you shouldn't be firing that round unless your life is definitely in danger. Not because you think it might be possible in the future that it could be in danger, but you are definitely in danger. And there have been cases where that has been the scenario. And as for unfortunate as violence is, the person had the right to shoot because they were in jeopardy. But the vast majority of these cases are, I thought his cell phone was a gun. You can have common sense gun regulations. You can say mentally compromised psychopaths should not have access to assault weapons. And that's not fringe. And you can do that. I mean, the Supreme Court has already said, yeah, you can regulate that. The assault weapons ban we had for years was very legal. You can have a limit on the amount of rounds in a clip. And these idiots that want to basically, these people that push for this stuff, they know that these people want these guns to slaughter people, and they don't do anything to stop it. Because I was in the military, okay? When somebody sat down and started drawing this weapon on some graph paper to design it, it wasn't designed for ducks or for deer or for elk or for pheasant. It was designed to kill as many human beings as quickly as possible, to basically allow people to modify those guns into full assault weapons and give them banana clips, 100 rounds each, is the rantings of delusion. Nope, Republicans will kill every single one of us before they feel as maybe the guns are the problem. They will. Every one of us. We do not matter. The only thing that matters to them is the guns. And your child, your 3-year-old child, your baby, your grandmother, they can all take a round in the face. They don't care. That does not matter. And by the way, let me prove this even further, because they're going to come out and say, we should do other things. Well, then what the hell are you doing? You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything with mental health issues. You're not doing anything. You basically do nothing outside of not regulate guns. We've had 40 years of Republicans talking about we need to regulate other things, and they don't do anything. They're incompetent failures who are betrothed to the gun industry and will kill every one of us for that blind faith. The 10-10 tie vote, where every Republican basically said, hey, I have no problem what happened at Annunciation. The vote comes nearly 6 months after a shooter fired 116 bullets through the Annunciation Church stained glass windows, killing students Harper Moisky and Fletcher Merkel, injuring more than 20 other kids. Ahead of the hearing, advocates and supporters rallied at the Capitol Rotunda, where 2 empty desks were set up in honor of the 2 children. Many of the families are part of the Annunciation Light Alliance, a group of parents lobbying both parties to pass gun control legislation. I want to make sure you understand how broken these people are, the Republicans are. One of the Republican politicians, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I had this sent to me. He sent them a note after their kid was shot talking about the guns are not the problem. Within days of their children being shot at, this guy is out there saying, go, all hail the mighty gun. And don't you dare, that Jesus you're praying to, he's not the real God, this gun is. Paraphrasing. Paraphrasing. Among those supporting the bills was Linda Kaiser, who was shot in the head in the incident. She joined Governor Walz to advocate for their passage. Elected officials have a duty to protect us from guns, Kaiser said. Yeah, they do. That's not the Republicans. They will kill every one of you to protect the guns. No one should have to go through what we went through at Annunciation. Jackie Flavin, Moisky's mother, also testified before the committee. Parents in our community, they actually had family members who lost guns or had lost children or had children killed by guns or were shot at this committee hearing, and it didn't even register a heartbeat in these Grinches. Parents in our community don't sleep all the way through the night anymore, because when we send our children out of the world, we know there are weapons out there capable of turning an ordinary morning into something unthinkable in seconds. Gun advocates said if it passed, the legislation could face immediate litigation, arguing that banning something does not make it go away. Yeah, but maybe we should give it a chance, because we've done it your way for 40 freaking years. Guns everywhere, and it sucks. You guys suck at stopping this stuff. So we've tried it your way. We should try it this way now. The Rob Dorr from the Gun Owners Caucus. And by the way, once again, yeah, you're the guys that basically screamed for years about jackbooted federal thugs coming in here and taking your gun out of your hands and shooting you. Yeah, kind of surprised that you guys haven't been far more vocal about the fact that Donald Trump was the jackbooted thugs that did that. Following the hearing, there was an apparent dust-up between the gun control advocates and gun lobbyists. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus alleged on social media that the director of governor relations and advocacy, Anna Lemmy, was berated after testifying. Unfortunately, after the hearing, a small group of gun control activists surrounded her and began berating her. One woman wearing an Annunciation shirt started screaming in her face and repeatedly called her a smug B word. That's not civil engagement. That's intimidation and harassment. Now, okay. First of all, we're only getting this from their point of view. And let's be honest, every conservative puts out there, lies their freaking ass off about these incidences. And they always try to make it, we were barely alive. Oh, I went into a neighborhood where there was a minority and we escaped within the skin of our teeth. That sort of thing. So if anyone does have any video of this, I would be interested in seeing it. But even if it goes the way you say, you criticizing parents whose children were shot at while you sit there and say the vehicle of death for these children, the guns, are unquestionable and the greatest thing that's ever happened. Paraphrasing. You think that's civil engagement. That you don't think that's intimidation or harassment. How stupid are you guys? And this is my point. You know how I say, and all these Republicans get their panties in a bundle because I say they'll kill us all? Here is a guy who has actually have family members who were killed by a gun, telling them, shut up, stop, you need to be more civil about the death of your child. They don't care. They will kill every single one of us for those guns. Everyone, every priest, every pregnant mother, every baby, every grandparent, every human. They will do it, and they'll sit there with a smile on their face saying, this is freedom. Because these are broken people. So the Republican Party, once again, pro-mass slaughter, because they're sure as hell not doing anything to stop the vehicles of these mass slaughters outside of going, make sure you sign that gun check, lobbying check to my campaign. Thank you. I appreciate it. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Thursday.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hey everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trends Woman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that. So much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only two seasons in Minnesota, road construction and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are two seasons in Minnesota, summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. By the way, when is the last time any news media outlet has actually asked, well, how many people would have to be killed for you to consider regulating guns? I mean, seriously, at this point, how come no legitimate news outlet has asked any Republican, so how many dead bodies would it take for you to say, maybe we have to do something about this? Well, that's not a fair question. Yeah, it's not a fair question because basically it's calling out your argument that somehow it is. And let's just be honest. The Republicans would say everybody could die and I would still support the guns. You see, Republicans are worthless. Republicans are worthless. They are. And they don't have anything they campaign on, so they have to turn everything into an attack ad. This is kind of why I like that Cat Ghazali ad earlier, which is it's taking them, it's beating them to the punch. They can't campaign on this stuff because they don't care about you. They only care about the handful of millionaires and billionaires that give them money. They don't care about you at all. They want to regulate you. They want you beaten. They want you scared. They want you afraid. This is what they want to do. This whole thing with the guns is one side of it. They don't want to regulate the guns because they want people afraid, because afraid people will vote against their own best interests. And so the occasional psychopath slaughtering children in a church is okay with them. It's perfectly okay with them because it builds fear within a community. The problem is sometimes they're so irresponsible with their language and their tone that they don't understand what they're really doing. Case in point. We had, of course, during COVID, well, let's remember everything. Everyone was concerned about COVID up until Trump left office. And then because he needed to create division and hatred and anger and distrust, he all of a sudden turned on. Remember, when he was in office, he was, I'm in the lab coat, in the lab, creating the vaccine myself. Look at me. He was acting like he was the great savior and all these things. And when Joe Biden won and he was put in office, all of a sudden he turned on this and every Republican started saying, COVID's fake. You don't need a mask. No one's dying. And they did all this stuff, right? Because they had to create discourse. Because if they actually have to campaign on the issues, well, they suck. What the problem is when you create this level of discourse, you're speaking this to psychopaths. You're speaking this to mentally compromised individuals who can't comprehend the sun and the moon, let alone advanced topics. And what ends up happening is you create real threats to us as a society. Vance Belter, the man who killed Speaker Hortman and her husband, exactly the same. He was inundated with far-right extremist ideology and clearly was a mentally compromised individual. Meet today's candidate on this. A rural Minnesota man railing against businesses' shutdowns designed to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in 2020 and 2021 has been charged with threatening to execute everyone at the Minnesota State Capitol. John Tobias, 58, of rural Park Rapids, big red country there. He's been charged with 2 counts of threats of violence after he allegedly sent posting a threatening Facebook message to the page of Republican Minnesota State Senator Glenn Gruenhagen, which then the lawmaker forwarded on to police on Tuesday. Gruenhagen is one of the most far-right guys out there, and there has been plenty of irresponsible COVID rhetoric coming from him and a lot of the other Republicans out there. This is quite literally, and now once again, I don't want to see Glenn Gruenhagen attacked. I disagree with him. I can disagree with your politics. I don't want anyone to gun this man down, or his family members for that matter, for goodness sakes. But you guys went out and threw rocks at the Beehive and all of a sudden are stunned, I say, stunned that the bees started stinging people. Because this extreme anger over COVID stuff sure as hell didn't come from the Democrats. We were going with science and reality. The message posted from an account named John Tobias allegedly read, "I will kill you and give me my swear word money, you crime syndicate blank." Okay, so he's telling this to Gruenhagen. Tampon Timmy, which is once again you guys keep throwing rocks at the Beehive. That's a derogatory term because God forbid Tim Walz wanted to make sure girls in high school had access to feminine hygiene products. And because of that, the Republicans called him that because, no, they shouldn't. Girls shouldn't have access to that stuff. That's the Republicans. Like I said, they have nothing. Anyway, that's the nickname he is. He actually refers to it here. So once again, this clearly is a guy that's coming from the right-wing side of things. Tampon Timmy cost me $1.4 million over the blank unconstitutional COVID shutdown. I want it now, or I'm going to do my constitutional duty to kill every one of you treasonous blank immediately. Wow. And once again, this was to a Republican. Because you guys went out and it was more important for you to create and you don't realize when you create you're creating that with some people who are indeed mentally compromised. The same day, a man identifying himself as John Tobias called the office of Minnesota Attorney General saying he would like something done by the COVID-19 business shutdowns implemented by Walz administration in 2020. Per the call, which was recorded, Tobias claims there was never any COVID, despite it killing more than 7 million people worldwide, and that he lost $1.4 million. I have no idea where he gets that number from. I'm going to guess there is some far-right website that says, calculate how much money you lost thanks to Tim Walz and the Democrats and the COVID shutdown. I guarantee you there's probably some website that has this made-up number. You lost $20 million. And he probably believes it. That's my guess. He proceeded to say that if he didn't get his money back, that he would come down and execute every blanking one of them Capitol buildings and freaking everywhere, according to the complaint. The call was reported to police. The AG's office employee calling Tobias's call had scared her and was concerned that he was going to carry out his threats. It does sound like it. It should be taken seriously. You have churches getting shot up. You have political leaders being shot. So, yeah, you should probably take it seriously. Per the complaint, the Hubbard County investigator was familiar with Tobias due to a previous investigation and spoke to him about similar threats in late January. When they executed a search warrant at his home on February 24th, they found 9 guns. 9. Dude, you got 2 hands. You people are nuts. A semi-automatic handgun, 4 rifles, a shotgun, 45 boxes of ammunition in the bedroom he shares with his wife. Because, once again, this is the guy. When you have all those Republicans voting down common sense gun regulations, they are making sure this guy can still get armed to the teeth. This guy. When questioned, Tobias allegedly admitted to making the phone call in the Facebook post, and he said he didn't have any intention of killing anyone, but wanted to get people's attention. You effing dumbass. I wanted people's attention. Well, you're going to get some jail time with this. His criminal history includes a 2013 DWI conviction, a misdemeanor domestic assault conviction in 2010. Once again, Republicans, he is yours. This is another one of your guys. You threw rocks at the Beehive. And now, once again, I feel sorry for Grunhagen. I imagine it's a little scary especially for his media guy, to all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. And then Ellison's office gets it. Because you irresponsibly threw rocks at the Beehive, and the bees don't care who they sting. But you guys can be, I guess, happy because you've made sure the angry bees still are armed to the teeth with as many assault weapons as they possibly can carry. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Thursday.
Step into Forts, a fort-building wonderland at Children's Theater Company through April 5th. Theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for creative play. Build the tallest fort, the longest fort, or tons of cozy little forts. Design a castle or a neighborhood. Your imagination leads the way as you play freely and create shared stories together in real life. Forts at CTC through April 5th. Spring break weekdays available. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for indoor winter activities. Cozy up with a book. They have all the bestsellers and new releases. Plus, their booksellers are great at making recommendations. Beyond books, enjoy mind-bending puzzles and family fun board games for those snowy days. And don't miss Next Chapter's in-store events, book clubs, author signings, and children's story time. So stay busy this winter with Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Hi, I'm Mary T. I'm a proud supporter of AM 950 because this station shares the values that I care about most: community, connection, and making a difference. Just like AM 950, I believe in using our energies, our resources, and our voices to lift up others. That's why I started the Mary T. Scholar Program at the University of Minnesota College of Education and Human Development, providing graduate students with internships internationally. For over the past 10 years, our students have served communities in Laos, Cambodia, Nepal, India, Cameroon, and Thailand, gaining experience and helping people in ways that really make a difference. Supporting AM 950 fosters conversation, awareness, and action in our communities. It's about shared values and believing that together we can make a difference. Visit MaryTinc.com to learn more about the work that we do.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 29, then Friday, sunshine with a high of 46. The Great Wall has been your home for Chinese favorites since 1981. Don't miss the sesame chicken, mushu pork with Chinese pancakes, or Peking duck. Stop in at the restaurant on France Avenue and 45th Street along the Minneapolis-Edina City line, or check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us. ATNF AM 950, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It is the Matt McNeil Show, Blue Amp Media, blueamp.co on Substack, and of course, AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Some upcoming programming for you on both of those networks. First of all, coming up here on Blue Amp Media right after my show, I believe it is Tequila Talk. Schechter and Joe Walsh, I'm sure they are going to have themselves a fine bottle of tequila to talk about the issues, and off you go. That's coming up here on the Substack Blue Amp Substack network. Stop on by and view that, or just my guess is just stay on the line. I don't know. Do they have to? Will they stay on with me? If they just stay here, and then does it all of a sudden become Cliff and Joe? Maybe it does. Go to Blue Amp Network. They probably have the link for you there. All right, in case it doesn't work. But go enjoy that Tequila Talk right after my show here, which is, of course, is 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central on the AM 950 mighty megaplex here in the Twin Cities. First of all, we've got the Native Roots Radio coming up here, and I've talked about this show. It is a fantastic show. It is Native American news. You do not hear this anywhere else, and it is exceptional. It is an absolutely exceptional show. It should be in every freaking market in the country. It absolutely should be. It's Robert Pilot and crew there tonight. Tom Weber, who's Peggy Flanagan's first husband, Peggy Flanagan. Also Robert Lilligan joining him tonight. That's Native Roots Radio coming up after my show here. And then tonight, after Patty Vasquez at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it is Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. I have been told, of course, this is the show where they talk about UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts. Tonight, it's angels. And of course, I immediately said, are you talking about the California Angels? Or the Anaheim Angels? He said, no, Angels. Oh, okay. Because, yeah, I don't know anything about the California. Are they supposed to be good this year? Do you know anything about the Angels lineup this year?
I will say they're not going to be that good.
This amount of conversation about Angels baseball is the only thing you're going to hear about Angels baseball on this radio station today, because he'll be talking about actual Angels tonight. Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken tonight at 10 o'clock right here on AM 950, 952-946-6205. Hey, you remember when I was talking earlier with Ahmed Baba, and I talked about how the abusive spouse thing is really kind of Trump's vibe? Yeah. Minnesota Department of Human Services said it had been notified that a deferred $259 million in Medicaid funding that was already appealing the federal plan to withhold the $2 billion in annual Medicaid funding from the state. So the state's already losing $2 billion through the big, beautiful bill, which, once again, you idiot Republicans that pass that, you do realize that it's not just going to be the Dems and the Libs getting that money, is that you basically have taken this money away from every Minnesotan. And once again, as much as you guys like to put out the narrative that it's only black people in the city that get government aid, the reality is pretty much most of the people getting government aid in this country are white people, and a lot of them in rural America, and vote Republican. We saw this with the food stamps, where they were all of a sudden stunned, I say, that when Donald Trump canceled the food stamps, it was Mary down the street in their small town who all of a sudden was going hungry, not the racist narrative they wanted to believe. But that's Republicans. They don't care about you. Heck, they'll take a gun over you any day. So that is Republicans. So they're already withholding $2 billion from the state of Minnesota. Now, basically, in this attempt to still brutalize the state of Minnesota, they've made an announcement to stop paying us $259 million in Medicaid funding on top of that. Governor Walz called the latest attack on the state from the Trump administration, which halts the $250 million from Medicaid funds, a ransom note. Vice President J.D. Vance announced Wednesday the administration would temporarily stop $259 million in Medicaid payments until the state government takes its obligation seriously to stop the fraud that's been perpetrated against the American taxpayer. Now, once again, I want to repeat something. There have been a lot of prosecutions for fraud in the state of Minnesota over the years. A lot of people have been arrested and charged. This notion that nobody has is an outright lie by the Republicans. They used to bring the Utah mama's boy, Nick Shirley, into town to do the racist attack piece on the Somali community, to which Trump then used to come in here and send in a Gestapo-like police force to murder two, shoot others, and brutalize the city in the state of Minnesota. We have been fighting fraud. Doesn't mean fraud is not bad. Of course it's bad. It should be taken care of. But this is not about fighting fraud because, once again, the Republicans, through their own actions, have decimated the U.S. Attorney's Office in the state of Minnesota, and they can barely turn the light switches on over there, let alone prosecute fraud cases. I mentioned Vance Belcher, the man who shot Speaker Hortman. They basically had to beg the judge to let them continue to be the lead prosecution on that case, because they got no one in there. So this whole idea that we're not doing anything is an outright lie. I'll get to why they're really saying this. Walz told the media on Thursday that his move was targeted retribution against the state that the president doesn't like, according to the Star Tribune. And that's for sure. No state has experienced this before, Walz said. How does taking and punishing children and the elderly have anything to do with fighting fraud? It does nothing. Asked about this, what is your message to the people of Minnesota who are still upset about the ICE surge as well? This is just one more thing on top of that. Vance, our message to the people of Minnesota is that we love them. They're our fellow citizens, and we're trying to do right by them. Okay, if that doesn't sound like an abusive spouse. During the visit, Vance misled the public when he said the Trump administration's immigration crackdown focused on Minnesota because that's where we have the highest concentration of people who are violating immigration laws. No, that is false. Pew Research estimated that 130,000 undocumented immigrants lived in Minnesota in 2023. States that are far more populous, California, Texas, Florida, New York, had by far the highest concentration of unauthorized immigrants and combined 8 million versus 100,000 in here in the state of Minnesota. Mehmet Oz, the one-time TV doctor and now administrator for the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, said Walz would have 60 days to respond to the Medicaid withholding. We will give them the money, but we're going to hold it and only release it when they propose an act of comprehensive corrective action to solve the problem. Now, let me make sure we understand what's going on here. This is them trying to take back this issue. And the state of Minnesota does not put the Republicans in power. They might get a tie in the House every once in a while, but we don't put them in power because they suck and they're horrible. See the part about enraging psychopaths to make threats, and of course, their guns everywhere proposal. They're just really bad. They have screwed over the farmer. They've screwed over industry. They've screwed over the economy. They just suck at what they're going to do, and they're really bad. So this is, we have not put them in power. This is the federal government trying to help the Minnesota Republicans by basically, and my guess is, well, the Republicans in the House where there's a tie are going to have a bill that comes up. If that bill comes up and gets passed, then we'll release the document, the money. But unless you pass what the House Republicans in Minnesota tell you to pass, then you can't do it. That's clearly what's going on here. This is an attempt by the federal government to force Minnesota to pass the minorities' bills to get federal money. I'm hoping the DFL has a big old F and U ready to go. Because once again, as much as these people want to say, we're only going to hurt those liberals who get this stuff, they're going to hurt everybody. And it won't take long for all of a sudden the people showing up and saying, why is my Medicaid gone? Because you basically are horrible people. Why? There is one state in the union who basically pays far more in and gets far less back than any other state. That's Minnesota. Minnesota gives the federal government far more money than we actually get back. As a matter of fact, we are the most discriminated against with federal dollars state in the union. And the reason why is because we do it right. We actually have a pretty decent economy. We actually have a lot of happy people, and we do things pretty well here. And that infuriates competence And happiness infuriates MAGA, and they infuriate Republicans. That's what this is. But don't mistake. We love Minnesota. We love them. They're our fellow citizens. This is the husband who is giving his wife a shiner because she got a little out of line. She had to be put in her place, telling the law enforcement who have heard about there's something going on here. Well, we love them. That's why I had to do that. I love her, but I had to do it. Because you don't starve people. You don't yank people off of health care. You don't do these things if you do love them. What you're doing is hurting people and saying, you're making me do this to you, which is, and apologies if this has triggered anybody who has been through abuse. This is unacceptable. And it's unacceptable on the human level, and it's sure as hell is unacceptable by the federal government to be abusive towards a state as they are being. This is them trying to find some way to punish us because we told them to get your jackbooted thugs out of our state, and we won for the most part at a terrible cost. And so now those bitter, angry, pathetic jackasses in D.C. have to try to find some way, and encouraged by the local Minnesota Republicans, they are saying, well, we'll starve some people and we'll take some people off health care and we'll hurt them. You made me do this to you. Hey, JD, put your freaking pants back on, get off the damn couch, and just go away. There's no getting better. You suck. Everyone there sucks. Trust me, we're all looking forward to November, because when we bounce you guys and start arresting you for crimes against the people of this country, you'll all of a sudden be blubber, but I loved you. Will we, though? That's the question. I'll answer that when we come on back. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Off to reap the corn and...
Hey, Chanhassen in Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalks stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Once again, Tequila Talk with, of course, Cliff Schechter and Joe Walsh is coming up on the Blue Amp Network after this show, so make sure you stick around over there. All right. Quick little side note here. YouTuber Nick Shirley, who praised J.D. Vance was praised by J.D. Vance over a controversial video alleging fraud in Somali American-run daycares, once again a racist video, has thrown support behind a new Jewish invasion online theory. The 23-year-old mama's boy responded to a post by a YouTuber promoting a documentary, New Jersey's Jewish Invasion. Expose it all, Shirley said. Shirley, who describes himself as an independent journalist, gained popularity after he posted the racist video where he had tried to force his way into daycares to photograph children, which he did not have authority to do so with a camera. But once again, I want to ask Pete Stauber, the Minnesota 8th Republican. So I guess do you not like Jews either? Is Pete Stauber anti-Semitic? Because he brought Nick Shirley to the State of the Union speech. I mean, this is his buddy, the guy who's promoting the anti-Semitic rhetoric. So Pete Stauber, I'm guessing you're hand in hand with him on that, aren't you? Guys, part of the problem here is the left. We are not holding people accountable as we should. This is why I praise Kata Ghazali at the beginning of the show, because she is doing something that needs to be done. We need to go on out there and fight. Nick Shirley tried to force his way into daycares with a camera. You see him on there trying to force his way in to photograph children without parental consent or without consent of the daycare. Daycares, by the way, all of whom were compliant with state law. And nobody's charged him with child endangerment. How? There was that neo-Nazi guy that was out, there was a Jake something, that was driving by protesters over at the Whipple building. He opened fire with a paintball gun and bear spray, attacking people without cause. And nobody has tried to file a charge against him. I've been talking about Elliot Engen. This is the guy, the Republican who's running for the state auditor, who went on a radio show and said he had a donor list for the Ice Out Minnesota, and a donor list that doesn't even exist. And even if it did, he shouldn't have access to it. And he wants to be the auditor? And then there is the Grand Enchilada, the Minnesota GOP itself, the people who seem to have welcomed in the Utah mama's boy to come here and make the racist attack video on the state of Minnesota. Then we know that at least one Minnesota House staffer helped Nick Shirley get this information. It sent them the racist list. And I've asked, who brought him in? Who paid for this? Was it taxpayer dollars? How many other taxpayer dollars went to help him? How many other staff members were helping Nick Shirley and his partner go around and make the racist attack video, which led to the invasion by Trump of ICE? I've been waiting, pleading for any freaking Democrat to sit there and say, you know what? We should have an investigation. And yet every freaking day, I'm disappointed even more, because there seems to be this mentality of, well, if we look at them, they're going to think we're partisan. Screw them. Screw them. We've got a real problem in this country where the Republicans basically will investigate nothing for a million years, and Democrats could have an undeniable murder, and they say, well, I think we'll have to just agree to disagree, and I got my Stern wagon figure out, and that's going to be good enough. Grow a freaking spine. You've got control of the Minnesota Senate. Start investigations. The reason why we are in this mess is because of pathetically weak Democrats who do not go out there when somebody commits a crime and holds them accountable. You do not do that. Merrick Garland, for God's sakes. And you guys are already talking your way out of doing anything here with any of these clowns who clearly are part of this conspiracy. Do your damn job. Do something. I am begging you for leadership at this point. I don't want to see your freaking 100-page strongly worded memo. It's worthless. Native Roots Radio is up next. We'll be back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie, it's